We are continuing with the procedure of a trial in a court of sessions. These provisions are consolidated in chapter 18 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. It covers sections 225 to 237. Section 225 puts a responsibility upon the public prosecutor to conduct the trial. In the context, the rights of the victims, complainants to assist the public prosecutor directly or through counsel as well is accepted by the courts. As the trial ultimately is to affect the rights of the victim criminal on the one hand and of the accused on the other hand, as such, the real participant is the victim and the accused. It is a human being's phenomenon. The institutional provisions as a court is a concept as an institution. However, every such institution functions through human beings. Here, three other institutions are of the prosecutor, defense counsel. Now, the court, the prosecutor, and defense counsel as such are institutions. However, these three institutions function through human beings. The presiding judge, the person doing the duty of a public prosecutor, and person doing the duty of a defense counsel. Now, these three individuals have to institutionalize themselves. If the degree of institutionalization of these individuals is not up to the standards, then naturally injustice is going to be inherently inbuilt in it. Further, as it is a human phenomenon, therefore the real pinch, the real effect is upon the individuals, may it be victim or may it be the accused. Therefore, it is the duty of the prosecutor as well as the defense counsel to be in tune with the feelings, etc., of the concerned individuals. If the public prosecutor is not in tune with the feelings of the victim, or the defense counsel is not in tune with the feelings of the accused, then there is bound to remain a gap. It is not a simple game of intelligence. It is not only the logic which is to play its prominent role. There is a consciousness layer beneath as a foundation of the intelligence. Therefore, this trial is to be viewed as a living phenomenon of the consciousness impulses at play. The trial beginning, as is specifically pointed in section 226, is that when accused appears or is brought before the court in pursuance of the commitment of the case under section 209, the prosecutor shall open his case by describing the charge brought against the accused and stating by what evidence he proposes to prove the guilt of the accused. Therefore, the focus is upon charge and evidence. Now, charge as such, as is defined in the Code of Criminal Procedure in section 2B, It simply says charge includes each head of charge. Therefore, the charge here used in a singular form is a plural constituent. There may be many heads of charge, but this definition as it is in itself is not unfolding real inherent ingredients and features of this conceptual term charge. Chapter 17 is specifically devoted to this conceptual area, its charge. The charge in itself is being fully taken up in a chapter 17. And the chapter 17 is a of the Code of Criminal Procedure in itself is a big chapter. It is running over sections 211 to 224. Therefore, when the prosecutor will open the case and will point out, when will describe the charge, that means the entire provisions of section of chapter 17 of the code will come into play. Therefore, the proceedings of the opening case will in fact bring in entire chapter 17 in operation. Describing the charge here in this context when is meant for having a determination whether accused is to be discharged or is to be put under trial under a charge is to be framed. That means the section 226, section 227 and section 228 form a single group, a single category. It is a single codification of the situation in which we have to be well acquainted, as this phase and stage of determination whether or not accused is to be discharged or the charge is to be framed against him is the foundational step. I call it is the first stage of judgment. In fact, it is the first stage of the judgment. A judgment, a judicial pronouncement, judge applying a judicial mind, prosecutor and defense counsel assisting the court for the conclusion whether the accused deserves to be put under charge or accused is to be discharged. Therefore, to have this assistance, the chapter 17 is to be considered. And then this chapter 17 as such, when is read, it will bring us to pointed attention, it will bring to our pointed attention that this charge in fact is the enlistment of the ingredients of the offense and also the additional information as to in which situation this offense stands committed and what is the evidence available with the prosecution to prove this offense. So today our focus is that we shall be well acquainted with the provisions of chapter 17, the charge. These provisions are section 211 to 224 and it is put in two parts. Part A is form of the charge and part B is joinder of charges. Now, Part A, form of the charge, runs over 7 sections. All these 7 sections deserve to be read in a sequence. And when we are through these sections, it comes to our pointed notice that the aim of the legislature is to have specified procedural frame within which the whole approach is to be as per law. Now, this section 211, it reads, every charge under this code shall state the offense with which the accused is charged. So, offense is to be mentioned, and it that way will take us to Indian Penal Code or any other code under which that particular offense stands defined. So though here we are dealing with the provisions of the procedure code, but in fact it is accepting, presuming that we are well acquainted with the provisions of the penal code as well. So this procedure code is to be read along with the Indian Penal Code and other penal codes. So Code of Criminal Procedure cannot be read in isolation. The provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure are primarily linked with the provisions of the penal code. So when charge is to state the offense, then naturally, impliedly, we should know what offense is. And by saying that we know what offense is what are the ingredients of the offense. As such, the application of section 211 will expect that ingredients of the offense are explicit. There is no confusion about the same. It is only when the ingredients of the offense will be explicit that it will be possible to assist and to determine whether the evidence being made available, being relied upon by the prosecution, if accepted on the face of it, will it be sufficient to have a lawful proof of each and every ingredient of the offense for which the prosecution proposes to put the accused on trial. Therefore, the stress is at this stage is that we shall have Indian Penal Code also with us. And from the next session, when we will be taking up, we are taking up a illustrative case of a particular offense, say of a murder. So when we will say that we are reading the provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure of a trial in the court of a sessions of a murder case, then in terms of this section 211, the offense would mean offense under section 302 IPC. So if it is in that context, it will be read. It will say that every charge under this act shall state the offense, means state that offense is of a murder, and means the ingredients of the offense of murder under section 302 IPC. So in a charge it will be stated offense under section 302 IPC, but impliedly it would mean all the ingredients of the offense. So this subsection 2 says if the law which states the offense gives it any specific name, the offense may be described in the charge by that name only. So the section 211 is a procedural provision, but this procedural provision is in fact upon the foundations of the substantive law in the context Indian Penal Code, in the context, say, offense of a murder. So the section 302. Therefore, these provisions of chapter 17, as far as the part A form of the charge is concerned, then we have to be through these, as each and every legislative enacted provision is lawfully binding. So to have a lawful procedure, to have a lawful trial, we have to respect the legislative sanction behind each and every provision here. The second part of this chapter is joiner of offenses. Here, it would mean that the one offense may not be committed by a single person, or there may be more than one persons who have committed the offense, or those are to be put jointly on a trial. So, which persons can be put jointly for a trial? And also here in the context that the offense as a single act, single phenomenon, single happening, or it may be chain of facts, chain of events, or it may spread over a duration of a time. Say A committed an offense of theft. He also, in one house, he also committed the theft of offense in second house. He also committed the offense of theft in third and fourth house in the same night, or on different nights, or between the same 1 week's period, or within 1 year's period. Here, provisions are also there to restrict these such type of joining of offenses only up till 3 offenses of the same generic having been committed within a duration of 1 year. Why 1 year? Why 3 is a different question. But while public prosecutor will be opening the case under section 226, and when he will be pointing out the charge and the evidence, then here impliedly it also means that whether the trial is going to be against a single person or more than one person, then whether the trial is going to be a single offense or more than one offense of the same generic, whether it is going to be same chain of acts. For example, A boards a train at station A. He commits a theft, pickpocketing, or lifting the luggage of a passenger A in cabin 1. By the time train moves, reaches the next station, he also continues with his activities, and he picks a pocket and also say picks up the luggage of others and so on. Whether it is the same transaction, same event, same happening or not, whether it is a single offense or double offenses, whether evidence is same or different. These are many real life situations which will arise. To have a lawful trial at the opening stage itself, the public prosecutor is to make specific that such and such persons are going to be put on trial, such and such offenses are going to be subject matter of trial, such and such piece of evidence will be there. But the first principle is that each individual accused and each individual offense shall be given a specific details. It should be very explicit. Charge sheet may be as large as may be, but each offense is to be distinctively stated The evidence with respect to each offense as well is to be specifically stated, and then the situations as to which persons will be joined together, which offenses will be tried together, are also to be settled at this very stage. Therefore, along with the charge, the provisions of chapter 17, we also have to be well acquainted with the definition of evidence and other provisions of evidence consolidated in the Indian Evidence Act. The focus is that while we are being through the provisions of Code of Criminal Procedure, in fact, we are simultaneously being through the provisions of the Indian Penal Code or any other penal code, the Code of Criminal Procedure, or other procedural complementing provisions, and the Indian Evidence Act and other complementing provisions of the Indian Evidence. As such, the proceedings of the opening stage are of expectations that the presiding judge, the prosecutor, and the defense counsel are well acquainted and are well read persons, not only of the calendar of the documents commitment file, but also of the provisions of the Indian Penal Code or the other penal code, the, the Indian Evidence Act and other Evidence Act, and the Indian Penal, the Procedural Code. Other. So this expectation of the law, in fact, is a very big expectation. Unless and until all the three individuals discharging the responsibilities of institutions and together making a court, unless and until all these three components are well conscious and are well equipped and are fully institutionalized, the injustice is bound to creep in. It is with this focus I just again impress that from the next session we will be having simultaneous visit to the Indian Penal Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure, and Indian Evidence Act, and the first offense which we will take up is the offense of a murder. As the Constitution of India guarantees fundamental right of life and liberty, so death sentence is a lawful sentence provided, and there is a lawful procedure which will reach into a result of depriving someone with a life. Therefore, we should visit what life is, what is the definition of a life, what death is, what death imprisonment would mean, and then how the public prosecutor or the defense counsel will assist the court on the first date of hearing when the case is going to be opened by a public prosecutor. Thank you. Say now continue.
Sir, it is quite informative. I think lot many things which probably we were not knowing are having a clear link So I think it is a very useful session, and we are all enriched with your experience, and it's becoming interesting day by day.
All right. Thank you very much.